Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the second day of the virtual GSE. We are here together with Darren, and without a further introduction, I think it's the best to just pass the stage over to you, to Darren, to do your introduction. And if people have any questions, feel free to use the chat. I will monitor the chat. And Darren, if you would allow me, I will just interfere you if there are specific hot questions, and otherwise we will probably have some time at the end to do some Q&A in general. So if that's good for you, the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Joris. I appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. What an honor to be speaking on GSE UK Virtual. I'm going to share my screen now, and hopefully everyone can see that. Joris, do you see the GSE?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect. Okay, then I will continue. So we're chatting today about how to build an internal mainframe talent pool. Joris, can you see all of these people in the call down the right side here? Should I move that?
I think you are good to go because if you're sharing your screen, we don't see the pop-up. So
Perfect.
We see your full screen.
Okay, then we're all good. Thank you, Zoom. Sorry for the interruptions, everybody. So my name's Darren Search, CEO of Interskill Learning. Interskill delivers more mainframe training than any other company in the world. Globally, this is all online training. I'm honored to be one of only 2 lifetime IBM champions for System Z. And I'm also an Open Mainframe Project Ambassador for 2024 as well. Looking forward to chatting with you today about a fantastic solution. Before we even start, this is not my theory or not my idea. This is what I'm seeing because we have so many mainframe organizations globally that we're partnering with to train mainframe workforces. I'm seeing this internal mainframe talent pool method being used more and more and more by mainframe organizations globally, and just wanted to speak about it because it solves a pretty important problem in the industry. So we'll start with the what, then we'll get to the how, and then we'll get to the why. So this is the what. There's a persistent challenge in the industry, and goodness me, I've been in the mainframe industry since '95, so coming up 30 years. And I think since the start, since I first joined the industry, people were talking about senior mainframers retiring and having to find the next generation of mainframers. So it's not a new problem, but it's not an end of the world problem either. People get a little bit hysterical, and there's a lot of articles written and a lot of discussions had about getting the next generation of the mainframe workforce. But obviously, the 30 years that I've been in the industry, the industry's running just fine, and organizations have continued to get the next generation of mainframers. That's why I love going to in-person conferences like GSE and Share here in the US and so forth. It's wonderful to see the next generation, all the youngsters coming into the mainframe space and so forth. But as you can see down the bottom here, scalability is one of the important things, and we'll go into how this internal mainframe talent pool covers that scalability. So there is a persistent shortage of external mainframe personnel. IBM's done incredible work with colleges and universities worldwide to have them train IT students in mainframe skills, but not an enormous number of people. There's Franklin apprenticeships that IBM works with. Broadcom has got the Vitality program. So there are absolutely sources of external young mainframe personnel and people in the industry that are willing to move jobs and be hired. So there isn't an external, but scale-wise, it's always difficult to find these skilled mainframers to hire to cover your organization's needs. So here's, as I said, not my idea. This is what I'm seeing in the industry: workforce planning, strategic upskilling, internal mobility, pretty straightforward stuff, not rocket science. gives an internal mainframe talent pool. And I'm seeing this used incredibly effectively. So in essence, all that chatter aside, what it is upskilling non-mainframe IT personnel, of which there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them, either working for organizations or coming out of university with non-mainframe IT skills. So mainframe upskilling in organizations, plentiful non-mainframe IT personnel at scale to produce a mainframe talent pool. Now that's a lot of talking, but it will make sense as we progress through. So the how do organizations do this? Very, very simply, really. There's a whole lot of subtlety and more details around these 4 simple points, but it really is just 1, 2, 3, 4, nice and easy. Identify an organization's mainframe talent needs. So figure out how many new people you need in the mainframe space and what particular job roles and what skills they need, and when is important. Step 2, identify high potential non-mainframe IT personnel. So look across your organization, specifically in your non-mainframe IT groups, but even outside IT, and find other personnel to upskill and bring into the mainframe job roles that you have open. Number 3, develop that mainframe talent pipeline, which we'll go into in more detail today. This is the really cool stuff, and given advances in mainframe training from back in the day, there's a lot of wonderful options here to develop that mainframe talent pipeline. And then 4, establish that learning culture and measure your results so it becomes a consistent, ongoing thing for decades to come. It'll just continue to feed itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, nice and easy, and that should use up a good chunk of the hour, and then we can have some questions at the end. So number 1, identify organizational mainframe talent needs. So for an organization, a mainframe organization, you have to plan these things with your mainframe workforce. You should know that this year you're going to need, if you're a small shop, you might need 3 or 5 or 7 new mainframers. If you're a really large mainframe organization, it might be in the 20s or 50s or 100s of new mainframers based on retirements, again, which are common given the age of some of the mainframe workforce. But again, nothing new that hasn't been for the last 30 years. There's been retirements and there's been the next generation of mainframe personnel coming in. So no great drama, but retirements are happening. Retirements, people moving out of into other job roles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to have a look at your long-term needs. I am seeing the best work done by organizations that are planning out 5 years as well as possible. Obviously, you've got a much better idea of what's going on this year and next year, but you can absolutely look at your workforce and say, okay, retirement-wise, given the age of your personnel in the mainframe space, excuse me, there's going to be, 5 retirements this year, 8 retirements next year, 2 retirements the year after, et cetera. And you can start to work with your HR department and other groups in your organization to sort of plan out what your talent needs are going to be for the next 5 years, based on new technologies you're thinking you're going to be bringing in, based on expansion, based on retirements, based on natural attrition rates, which your human resources group will know about, et cetera, et cetera. So try and get a handle on this and figure out, okay, this year I'm going to need 5 or 50, depending on the size of your shop, whatever it is, 10 new mainframers. Next year I'm going to need 12. Next year I'm going to need only 3. Next year I'm going to need whatever. So these numbers. And then analyze the talent supply and demand. None of this is rocket science, pretty simple. Okay, I'm going to need 10 people this year, 10 new mainframers. Let's have a think about it. Okay, so I can work with IBM and pick up 2 from Franklin Apprenticeships. I can work with Broadcom and pick up 2 from Vitality Program. That gets me to 4. I've got a local university that I know the professor, and there's going to be another 3 there. That gets me to 7, but I need 10. Where am I going to find this other 3? Okay. If your number is 30 new mainframers you're going to need this year, if you've got a large organization, and you can only pick up 10 or 12 or 15 through regular external sources, then you're starting to get a larger number. These are the sorts of math problems. These are the sorts of numbers that give mainframe executives, mainframe managers heartburn and give them sleepless nights, because even when you're out there and you're recruiting, and researching and trying to find these people, the scalability is the thing. You may not have exactly the number. This is what an internal mainframe talent pool does, is it gives you this pool of skilled internal personnel. You know they have the mainframe skills, and you've got them sitting there. So you say, okay, I need 10 people this year. I can get 6 externally. So here's 4, go to my mainframe talent pool, and I've got the other 4. Or I can maybe cut back and say, okay, some of these external people are a bit expensive. Let me take 6 from my mainframe talent pool and get 4 externally, etc. So you've got to think about that competition for talent. Just because there's 10 or 20 new next generation mainframers out there, there's also a lot of other mainframe organizations that are also fighting for these people and trying to entice them to come and work for them. So there's definitely competition for talent in the mainframe space. And so training people up internally and having them to bring across into mainframe roles is often a safer bet than having to try and find them externally. Hope this is making sense so far. So number 1 was identify organizational mainframe talent needs. So figure out how many mainframers you're going to need as best you can. The next one is identify high potential non-mainframe, underline, IT personnel. And this is your low-hanging fruit. This is the place where you're going to find people that are going to be some sort of a natural fit in the mainframe space. So your organization will already have hundreds, if not thousands, of non-mainframe IT personnel, programmers, operators, systems people, security people, et cetera, on your distributed systems, on your other IT systems. And some of them are going to be interested in doing something different than what they're classically trained on doing. And the mainframe is an amazing career. There's a lot to entice people to come across into a mainframe career from within your organization. I think studies have been done that show mainframe salaries are, I think, 13 to 15% higher than non-mainframe IT. The mainframe itself is the core of the business world. It's the most powerful machine out there. It's just a phenomenal career and very interesting technically. We know the sort of personality types that a lot of mainframers are, the sort of interests they have and so forth. So start working on, as part of building this mainframe talent pool, internal mainframe talent pool, start working with your managers from your other IT groups, your non-mainframe IT groups, and talking to those managers and saying, are any of your people this sort of personality type, or are they interested in this sort of thing, or are any of them looking to expand or move into a different career? Because we're going to, next year and the year after and the year after, we're going to have need for some mainframe personnel, and we are happy to upskill them and train them in and around their normal work, and give them an option to move up, be promoted, or moved across into a mainframe job role. So you can speak to managers. These managers in the non-mainframe IT groups have no shortage. There's thousands and thousands of people coming out of university all the time with non-mainframe IT skills, so they can be replaced pretty easily. You can speak to the managers, get managers or mentors' opinions on who might be a good fit, look at performance reviews, career conversations, have open days at your mainframe department and bring anyone who's interested in. a career in mainframe across to show them the mainframe and show them what sort of work they'd be doing and so forth. So you can work to identify 10 or 20 or 50 or 100. Think about your next 5 years of needs and start to identify people that might be interested and speak to them and say, hey, if we provide you with the training, if we upskill you and give you these mainframe skills and a chance for a great career in the mainframe and promotion and all sorts of things that go with a great career, would you be interested? So you'll start to get this, as the name suggests, this internal talent pool of personnel that are picking up mainframe skills. They're upskilling as they go, just with their normal training that they do each year. So identify them, recognize them, and acknowledge them. The mainframe community is a big part about why I love the mainframe industry. Things like this, anyone who's here at the GSE conference knows, people in share and so forth. We are all together on LinkedIn and social media and all sorts of other stuff. So the mainframe community is a great bunch of people. You can talk to these people that might want to come across into a mainframe job role, and as well as committing to them that you're going to help them with their career and provide them with the training they need and help them pick up all of the skills that they need. Maybe some swag, maybe some cool t-shirts, maybe a little trophy that they can have on their desk saying next generation mainframer or soon to be a mainframer, or go creative, have fun with it. Accolades, all sorts of other things, but make them start to feel like they belong, because there's going to be quite a bit of training to do and all the things that can help with that drive and that interest and that commitment to eventually becoming a mainframer is going to help. They can do job shadowing. They can come across and hang out with people in your mainframe group for a day on a regular basis and or semi-regular basis, and get an idea of what you do and feel like they're part of your mainframe team, and really start to invest in it emotionally as well as with all of the time and effort they're putting into the training. So I think the mainframe community is a big draw. That's what I've seen has been very successful with the organizations that do these internal mainframe talent pools, but also the value of your organization providing the training and really committing and showing that they're investing in these people and giving them all the skills they need for a really cool career. So all of those things are part of identifying these high potential mainframe IT employees and recognizing them and building them up, not only skill-wise, but also emotionally and so forth to want a career in the mainframe. Now, there will be some attrition in this. If you've got 20 or 30 or 40 people going through this internal talent pool from your hundreds or thousands of non-mainframe IT personnel, there may be some of them that get partway through and go, yeah, you know what, I don't want to be in a mainframe career. I'll stick with what I've got. So there will be some attrition. That's why the continued internal recruiting is important. But there's all of these. I can chat with anybody, connect with me on LinkedIn, be glad to let you know what I'm seeing in the industry on how you identify and get these people interested. So number 3, develop your mainframe talent pipeline. Just looking at the time, good. So 3 things that I've seen are particularly important with the training components that you use to upskill these non-mainframe IT personnel into that mainframe career. Training should be on demand, so it should be there. If your non-mainframe IT personnel say, okay, I need to do some ZOS training or some JCL training or some COBOL training or whatever it is, and they have to jump through hoops and fill out paperwork and apply with management and wait for a month before they can go to a class and so on and so forth, they're going to lose interest. And the moment that the passion takes them or strikes them, they can't get their hands on the training straight away. It becomes a lot more laborious. So on-demand training, where if someone goes, oh, I've got a bit of time to do some training today, if they can just log in and access the training straight away, so e-learning and other things like that, labs, sandboxes they can play in that you can set up at your organization, all of these sorts of things. On demand is very, there'll be classroom training, I absolutely suggest that all of the people in your Mainframe talent pool come to events like this, virtual, IBM Z Day, go to, if they can, a share or a GSE conference in person. Again, mixing with mainframers in person is a great way to really emotionally invest in a mainframe career. It should be year-round availability of this training. So don't just have training that you do a little bit of training now, and then a few months' time you'll do a little bit more, and a few months' time you'll do a little bit more. That's not enough to not only pick up the skills, but also to hold people's attention and keep them motivated and keep them excited about this upskilling and moving towards this mainframe career. So have it always available year-round, and also scalable. So if your organization needs to train 5 people and suddenly there's a big initiative coming up in the next year, or a number of people are saying, hey, we're all going to retire, anything like that, you need to be able to scale it up instantly and say, okay, I need to train 25 people instead of 5 people. So you can't be like, okay, I can only train 5, so the rest of the people are going to have to sit and wait for another couple of months until I can actually get to training you. You've got to use methods that are scalable as you go. And these are some of the things, just as an idea, that are available these days. Back in the earlier days of the mainframe industry, classroom was it. Instructor-led training, people would go to IBM and do a class, and that was the training that they did. There's masses of e-learning. Obviously, full disclosure, Interskill's the biggest mainframe training provider in the world. We did just over 1 million hours of mainframe training globally last year, so pretty remarkable. But there's on-the-job training, which is, again, back to the start of the mainframe industry. On-the-job training has trained generations of mainframers, just being with mainframers and learning as they go. Different micro-learning, mainframe community. You can read around these dots, I hope, and see the different options here. Digital credentials I'll go through in a minute. These things are incredibly valuable. Reporting, analytics, coaching, and mentoring I'll go into in just a minute. So assessments, hands-on labs. Hands-on is a great way to learn, just by actually practicing and doing things. Learning plans for structure and so forth. So there's lots and lots and lots of things that you can provide to your personnel in this mainframe talent pool that give them the training on demand, or when they need it, give them the training year-round, and are ultimately scalable. So fit in very, very well with training up these personnel. 25 minutes in. So as mentioned, I want to talk about digital credentials. Any of you that have a LinkedIn profile, and if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, please, I suggest get a LinkedIn profile. Great way to stay connected with the mainframe community. And always very good for your career. So anyone who's been on LinkedIn will have seen IBM badges pop up. IBM was an early adopter of digital credentialing, and the IBM badge program has won a number of awards in the credentialing and in the education industry for the phenomenal job that they've done. And digital badges are, well, what is a digital badge? Digital badges are a recognition of an achievement. So in this case, we're talking about training, but digital badges can be awarded for being an IBM champion, for finishing a project, for taking part in some community service, for being a speaker at a conference, for et cetera, et cetera. Organizations can offer up a digital credential, but digital credentials are more than just a graphic. They are, they have metadata embedded in them. And so, as mentioned on LinkedIn, if you've ever clicked on one of these badges, it'll take you to the badge issuing system. In IBM's case, it's called Credly. And the Credly system will, by Pearson, the Credly system will let you see. So when you click on the badge, it'll show you the name of the badge, what the person did to earn that badge, any other details, dates, who provided the training or where it was, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think you can see down the right side here, all of this other metadata that's embedded in these badges. Now, these are to standards. You can't forge these things. You can't fake them. Badges are something that a person takes with them and keeps with them and shows that they have achieved something, or they've done a class, or they've picked up skills. But it's this verifiable source of digital truth. As we live our lives more and more and more digitally, more and more online, these are the sorts of things that show what we know and how we know it, and our skills and other achievements, and who we are as professionals online. So digital credentials are an incredibly important part. I think as the technology increases, as we live more and more online, things like driver's licenses will be digital credentials, probably social security, insurance policies, you name it. There'll be all sorts of stuff. The same as when we get on airplanes now, we don't necessarily have that printed out boarding pass anymore. We just have our app on our phone, and we can scan and get on the airplane that way. Digital credentials are that digital and source of truth, and we'll be using them more and more often. So around training, they are an indication of what you know and what you don't know. They'll show what courses you've done and passed, and other assessments or certifications or any other achievements that you have done. And in the IBM badge program, specifically, IBM did this study 8 years ago. 8 years ago, IBM launched the digital badge program, excuse me, across IBM personnel. And 6 months in, they said, I wonder how successful this is. We've offered badges with a lot of the training we do for IBM personnel internally. Let's have a look and see if the badges have changed anything just by having badges associated with the course. And I'm sure there were some people fell off chairs. These are the results that IBM got 6 months in. Just enrollments, 129% increase. That's people actively going and seeking out training on the corporate learning management system or elsewhere, seeking out training themselves and completing, enrolling in the training. 129% increase. And it's not rocket science. People previously might have thought, oh, I've got to do a course, and maybe I'll do a course, maybe I'll leave it till next month, maybe I'll do it later in the year. But if there's a badge associated with the course, a JCL badge, I'm going to go and do that course now. I want to earn that JCL badge. I want to put it up on LinkedIn. I want to have everybody see that I know my JCL, and have my colleagues say, hey, well done, good job, et cetera, et cetera. So just the lift in actually getting people to train was massive, which as a corporation, with any corporation, this is it. You can have training available, but the trick is to get people to do the training, pick up the skills, and obviously perform their jobs better and have a more skilled workforce. So 129%. Percentage of enrollments completing courses, 226%. You can see in the fine print down the bottom, as opposed to 40% average for other courses without badges. 40% versus 226%. So this is just stunning. And again, not rocket science. Instead of starting a course and going, I've done some of it, that's fine, that's enough, I'm not going to finish, I'll finish it another day. People want to earn the badge. So they get through, they make sure they go through the course and complete it so that they can get the badge. And again, for the organization, that's fantastic. You want your people to pick up all the skills and complete the courses. You want to get return on investment for the money you're spending on the training, and make sure that you get maximum benefit for it. So 226, I won't go into too much more detail. I mean, the end of course assessment, 694% increase from what the baseline was in people actually passing the end of course assessment, rather than just getting through the course and saying I completed it. So these are the sorts of lifts that digital credentialing does in motivation, in motivating people to actually go and train. So for the internal Mainframe talent pool, just having badges associated with the training that you offer, if you have a choice between providing training without badges or providing training with badges, this is the sort of reason why you should always pick training that has a digital credential associated with it, because you're way more likely for these people that are busy anyway, doing their normal IT jobs, but you need some extra motivation for them to actually say, okay, I'm going to do this mainframe course and pick up the skill and earn this badge, which is going to make me stand out from the other people, and so that I can move across into a mainframe job. So that motivation helps people upskill and be ready to move across into that mainframe role when they are needed by the organization. Lots and lots of badges from IBM, certifications, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Quick sheet. I suppose the green ones are foundation level. If you ever see them, you can tell by this little, looks like a cell phone signal strength thing on the right, but you can see the first one's lit up. So the green ones are foundation. The burgundy colored ones, the reddish ones there, are intermediate. The blue ones are advanced. And then there's various specialty ones, more advanced ones. You can see over here on the right, these are some IBM professional certificates, which are far more advanced, not quite certifications, because there aren't any certifications for in the mainframe space. But IBM professional certificates are really advanced job role focused learning paths of about 80 to 100 hours of training that really target the skills needed as specified by IBM for different mainframe job roles. So they're the Rolls Royce. They're the advanced credentials. These other ones, the green and burgundy and blue ones, are skills badges. As you can see by the names on there, they are more focused around particular technologies or particular skills. You can see some JCLs and some JES2s and some STSFs and TSO ISPFs and so on and so forth. Their mainframe environment. So they're focused on skills. The professional certificates are focused on job roles and lots more. But try and include training with digital credentialing, both in your mainframe talent pool, upskilling, both for the motivation, and also so you can track what your people know and what they don't know. You know, you can't have them do a course and say, hey, I know JCL now. Well, how do you know they know JCL now? Did they do well in the course? Did they complete the course? How in depth was it? You know, et cetera, et cetera. So these badges are, again, that sort of digital source of truth and confirmation that the people have gone through this course, they've passed the exams, they've earned the badge, and they know this stuff. And you can click on the badge and see exactly what they do know. Not just, hey, I know JCL. Well, what part of JCL and to what degree do you know JCL? Well, if they've earned a green JCL badge, a foundation one, then they know to a foundational level. If they've earned the green and the burgundy and the blue, and so you know that they know to an advanced level. So again, it's training data and skills data that the organization can look at and say, okay, this person's really trained up to this level. This person's doing really well and they're trained to this level in all of these topics and or job roles. So enough on digital credentials. I've belabored that point, but I obviously find that pretty fascinating stuff. I love the digital credentials. It's a very, very interesting technology. So a couple of other things, and I'll brush over these quickly. You saw that sort of dot diagram that looked like an atom or a solar system or something earlier on that showed all those different types of training that you can use. This more detail is the things that I think is most important. So digital credentialing should absolutely be a part because of the motivation and because of the skills data that it confirms. Coaching and mentoring is incredibly important in the mainframe space. Every organization out there that has a mainframe has a group of senior mainframers that have 20, 30, 40 years of experience, and not just experience, but context and backstory about your organization, why things are done the way that they're particularly done, as opposed to maybe doing it differently in other companies. All sorts of experience and knowledge and backstory and connections and all of this sort of stuff is absolutely priceless. And organizations should not let senior mainframers leave without passing this stuff on to the next generation of mainframers and or people in your mainframe talent pool. Without passing it on. And senior mainframers can't just do a brain dump and write a 25-page Word document the week before they retire and hand that over, because it's going to miss stuff. This needs to be done ongoing through coaching and mentoring for multiple years leading up to the senior mainframer's retirement, because it's stuff that can't be taught in any course. No InterSkill e-learning course can teach the specifics and the backstory and the context that a coach or a mentor can cover. No classroom course, no anything that any vendor can offer. This stuff is going to come from your senior mainframers because they know how things work at your organization. They know process, they know procedure, they know who to talk to, they know what you can do and what you can't do. So this sort of stuff, coaching and mentoring, has to be part of, excuse me, your mainframe talent pool. Upskilling. Excuse me. Have some coffee. Community is another thing that's really important as well. As mentioned earlier, there needs to be incentive. All of these people in the mainframe talent pool, the internal mainframe talent pool, are doing their normal jobs anyway. So they're going to have to believe and want to move across into a mainframe job eventually, because they're having to do extra training to pick up all the mainframe skills they need. Community is almost a sort of a cross with coaching and mentoring as well, because people in the mainframe community can fill that role. They can give advice, they can help with technical things, et cetera, as well as being part and feeling like the people belong to this wonderful, wonderful mainframe industry that we have. That's a big reason to give them motivation to upskill and learn about the mainframe and find out interesting things from other people in the community. Again, things like this virtual conference, things like GSE's face-to-face conferences, share and so on and so forth. All part of the community, but feeling like you belong. You know, people don't just go to work for a paycheck. We all want to do something important with our lives. We all want to do something cool. We want to work with good people and do something important. Well, there is no IT more important than the mainframe. This is the core of the business world. This is what enables us to live our lives the way we live, because the mainframe's running in the background and keeping business going and keeping the data flowing and so forth. So it's a phenomenal industry, and being part of that community, making sure that your personnel in your internal mainframe talent pool are part of that community is something that's going to keep them interested in this mainframe space. I'm just looking at the time again over on my other screen. So 1, 2, 3, we're up to 4. After all of this upskilling, or while this is going along, again, people aren't going to, I suppose you can take personnel and put them through boot camps. You can take an IT personnel, non-mainframe IT person, and give them 3 months extensive, intensive daily training if you want to. Typically, I've seen best results where people do, you know, an hour, a couple of hours a week, a half day a week, this sort of stuff of training as they go, e-learning different courses, earn some badges, go to an occasional conference or sit in on a virtual conference and so forth. This is done over a year or so, a couple of years, a few years, continually building up skills. So again, this is why right at the start we talked about mapping out what your needs are going to be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the track, because you're starting to build up an upskill, and you've got 20, 50, 100 people in your talent pool that are gradually upskilling, and you can keep an eye on that through badges, through the data in the learning management system and so forth, and know that when this person retires, this system programmer retires, so we're going to need to bring a new system programmer in. I've got 7 people in my talent pool that have all of these system programming skills based on the badges they've earned and the courses that they've done. 3 of them are probably at the level that I need. So let's ask these 3 if they're ready to come across now. So you don't have to go out and scream and try and find someone through a recruiter at the last minute. You've got all this planned. You've got your pool of people that you can say, okay, I've got 3 or 4 I can potentially bring across. Let's see which one's going to be the best one, or which one wants to come across now. So I digress. Number 4 is establish a learning culture and measure results. So a learning culture is, please read up on learning culture. It's incredibly important. Josh Burson is a luminary in the workforce and human resources and education space. Just phenomenal. Follow him on LinkedIn or online. and read his stuff. He's just a brilliant, brilliant man. He is quoted as saying the single biggest driver of business impact is the strength of an organization's learning culture. So learning culture, what is it? Please read up on it for more detail. But I suppose in its essence, a learning culture is a culture at your organization where people understand that learning is part of their normal career. Learning isn't just, oh, I have to do a class once a year or my boss won't be happy with me, and so I do a class and check the box and move on. A learning culture at an organization, or people that work at an organization with a learning culture, understand that to keep their skills up to the right level, to learn new skills, to have better careers, to perform optimally, to do a good job, you need to have learning as part of everything you do on a daily, on a weekly basis through various different ways. Always learning, always learning, always learning. Going out and finding training yourself just to improve some of the stuff that you do, or give yourself some options to move into different job roles or different careers, et cetera, et cetera. So that lifts up the organization, because people are actively saying, okay, I need to train. This is just part of my life, part of my career, and go and actively seek it from what's made available by the organization and go through the training. And again, badges are part of that, to get that credential and move on and so forth. So a learning culture, read about it, but this is all part of what we're providing the training to the talent pool, as well as across your organization. Everyone should be training. If you're not, read up on a term called the half-life of skills. 30 or 40 years ago, you could learn COBOL and work for 20 years still doing the same thing, still programming COBOL the same way. So the half-life of a skill, the period of time that a skill continues to be productive for you was long, was in multiple years, even longer. These days, the half-life of a skill, i.e. how long you can have a skill before it starts to become out of date, before you need to update it, before it's not giving you optimal output or ability to do work. The half-life of a skill these days is, I think, less than a year. Various studies show it as 8 months to 12 months to 16 months, depending on the skills, but in IT specifically. So all of that being said, training must be a part of everybody's career just to keep up. Not even to get ahead, but just to keep up, to make sure that you're up to the latest version, to make sure that you've got the skills you need. Look at AI's come out now, and everyone's like, how I need to do some training on AI. How can I use this better? How can I use ChatGPT? How can I use other AI to help me with my daily job and so forth? This is all training, but a learning culture means that people in your organization realize that and actually seek the training and just accept it as part of what they do. So if your organization has a learning culture, or at least if you can get your Mainframe talent pool to have that learning culture and realize that they're training up for a bigger picture, for something cool, for a career in Mainframe, to get a better job, to work with the coolest system out there. Also measure the results. Don't just put on a Mainframe, internal Mainframe talent pool and wonder whether it's working. Look at the data. The data's all there in learning management systems, in badges earned, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, with the number of people that you replace, with how long people take to train. All of this stuff will give you an overall view of how successful this thing is and help you with your long-term planning. You can say, okay, I've got 30 people. Some of them are training faster than others. Some are not training as fast, but I'm going to have the right number of people to replace 70 or 80% of my need, and the rest of them I'm going to have to find externally, et cetera, et cetera. So all of this data is worth keeping an eye on and figuring out how it's working and how it's affecting the talent pool and your Mainframe workforce. Retention and turnover rate is really important. ENPS is the loyalty and job satisfaction of your personnel. Important to keep that high, or otherwise you're going to lose more. You're going to lose more people than just retirements. You're going to lose people going elsewhere to other jobs if your personnel aren't happy. So all of these things sort of tie in. Measure those results. Make sure your internal Mainframe talent pool is working. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you want to discuss this. This isn't a product thing. This is just an interest of mine in the industry, and I can connect you with other people at organizations that are using this this method incredibly effectively. And you can just ask them how they've done it and fine tune things. We're nearly at the end. I'm talking up a storm. The why. So why would you do this? Why have an internal mainframe talent pool? Well, I covered a lot of this at the start. It's a headache. It's frightening for mainframe organizations to say, I'm going to need this many people over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. Where the heck am I going to find them? As mentioned, IBM's got its work with Franklin apprenticeships. They're turning out youngsters that have mainframe skills. Absolutely fantastic. But scale-wise, not an enormous number. Universities, there's quite a few universities. Again, IBM's amazing work with universities to get them to train up young mainframers. And there's a lot of them coming out. But again, not enough for the need of the industry. Vitality through Broadcom turns out mainframe skilled youngsters and people from other different backgrounds, not necessarily all youngsters. Again, phenomenal work by Broadcom. But is that enough for your training need, depending on how big your shop is? It may be enough. It may be enough. If you're a really small mainframe shop and you need 1 or 2 people a year, maybe you can find them from those sources. You've got a university close by and you know the professor really well, maybe you can pull them in from there. But for large corporations, especially global corporations that need large numbers of mainframe personnel, and they know that over the next few years, they're going to need this many, being able to have that internal pool of people that you know have specific mainframe skills by the data, and they're just there. So when you've got shortfalls in the number of people that you want to train, or if you want to bring them across from internal anyway, you can scale up and know that you don't have to lose any sleep wondering where you're going to find your 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 mainframers the next year. You've got it in the bag. You know you're going to get some from external, and the rest of them you've got as internal, and you're able to scale based on your internal training. This is one of the main reasons why organizations, I think, and again, it comes from a Josh Burson study. This is one of the main reasons why I think organizations like to use an internal mainframe talent pool, just for the pure business side. The Josh Burson study showed that it is 6 times. Now, I made that 6x big for a reason, because this is a really compelling business reason for organizations to do this. It is 6 times more expensive to hire people externally, with recruiters, with onboarding, with ramp up time, with moving costs, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know the story. We're all in the corporate world. 6 times more expensive to hire externally than it is to train people up internally. So massive, massive cost savings to actually train your personnel up internally and then bring them across. They're already part of your organization. They're already onboarded. They know your systems at a greater level. So it makes them even more versatile as mainframers, because they know the distributed systems as well as the mainframe systems. They're already part of your company's culture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a lateral move or a promotion move across into the mainframe shop. 6 times more expensive to go out and find them externally than it is to hire them up internally. So this is why big organizations are creating these internal mainframe talent pools and providing the training to upskill them and do it this way. Massive, massive cost savings, as well as the security and the ability to, less tums, less heartburn, and more sleep at night by knowing you've got these numbers in the bag. There's people to bring across. So I'm doing all right on time. The benefits, the reasons why organizations do this: workforce planning, as I mentioned, this is all important. The cost savings, the workforce satisfaction and loyalty and retention is pretty amazing when personnel know that an organization is investing in them and giving them the reward at the end. So if somebody's done a bunch of mainframe training because they want to go into a mainframe job, and then the organization actually brings them across or promotes them into that mainframe job and shows that they're committed to giving them a good career and options to do other things and so forth, that's a whole lot of loyalty and a whole lot of happy workforce, happy personnel. that are going to work harder and be loyal and stick around, not just leave to go somewhere else, because the key is holding on to your mainframe team. You're going to lose some with retirements, but if you're losing them because people aren't happy, then you've got even bigger problem trying to keep up with the number of people. So that helps. Skills benchmarking is important. Again, as I've mentioned before, just because somebody says on their resume, I know JCL, I know this, I know that, I know ZOS, how do you know they know? Or how do you know how much they know? Or where did they learn it from, et cetera, et cetera. So the badging and the ability for you to see, okay, all of this training I provided my personnel is what they've done. I know the vendors that came from. I know what was in it, what the curriculum covered. It gives you the ability to benchmark their skills and know what they know and what they don't know, and know that you're bringing really good people into the job role in your mainframe shop, who can hit the ground running. And scalability as well is the other thing. If suddenly your 10 people that you thought you needed next year turns into a 30 people you need next year because of some new initiative or something going on, you can scale that up and start to intensively train, rather than thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to go out and try and recruit another 20 people. Where the heck am I going to find them? You can start scaling up internally, increase the amount of training that some of your people in your talent pool do, and again, have them ready to come across exactly when you need them. So again, as I'm seeing this used in the industry, it really does check a lot of boxes. Not difficult to set up, and becoming very, very effective. That is it for me, with 7 minutes to spare. So please scan that QR code or go and give some feedback. Hopefully everyone's not going to say I didn't understand a word that Australian guy said because he talks funny. Hopefully my rambling hit a chord. And as I said, I'd be glad to chat at any time. Connect with me on LinkedIn or reach out to me. Be glad to connect you with some of the organizations that are really knocking it out of the park, doing very, very well with internal mainframe talent pools. It's an innovative and highly successful way for organizations to make sure that they've got the ongoing vibrant mainframe workforce that they need.
Thank you very much. I did ask in the chat if there were questions for you, Darren, from the audience. Currently, there were no questions. Perhaps a last request. Any questions for Darren? Speak up now. Maybe one. Yeah, go ahead, Herb.
Is there lots of snoring on the chat? Everybody's falling asleep, maybe?
Yeah. No. I don't think so. By the way, I was very stunned by that number of that 6 times, and I will tell you why. Incredible. This morning on the Dutch radio, there was a conversation going on about external hiring or outsourcing versus direct hiring, which is also a factor 2 in cost minimum.
Yep.
And this basically narrows it down to even more specific. So yeah, you can unmute, Herb. Oh, I asked you to mute. Here you are. I think you can unmute now. There you are. So that number is really, really stunning. Herb, go ahead.
Hi, Darren. One of the things I hear a lot from companies is they have like a very specific skill. One that often comes up is like assembler and stuff like that.
Yes.
Have you any advice on kind of how they can build a kind of a pipeline around some of these kind of very specific niche things that they have?
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen done successfully is exactly that, using getting some of the programmers from the non-mainframe groups, some of the C programmers or Java programmers or anybody else. I mean, most programmers these days are what they call polyglot. They program in multiple languages, and the mainframe now works with so many languages as well, and gone are the days when it was just assembler, COBOL, and Kix. So train the personnel up by giving them, whether it's e-learning courses on assembler, classroom courses on assembler, going to conferences and sitting in on a session about assembler, reading articles about assembler. There's countless ways that people can start to upskill. The coaching and mentoring comes into that as well. A nice seasoned mainframe assembler programmer can spend some time and set exercises and help them with some of their coding and so forth over an extended period of time. You don't have to just go and do a 2-week course on assembler programming and then bring them straight across unless the need's urgent. Just have people starting to learn assembler as part of their languages that they code in, and then when they've got the badges and various other things on their LinkedIn profile to show that they know assembler at a various level, the organization can say, okay, I need 3 new assembler programmers. Well, look, here's 5 people here that have done all this assembler training and earned all of these assembler badges. Let's pick 3 of the 5, or ask which of the 3 of the 5 are happy to jump across into this new project, etc. I hope that answers the question, Herb. I mean, it's there's definitely a lot of training out there. Assemblers reasonably rare training. There's not a lot of companies that do it, but I think again, what I've seen done highly effectively is that blend of some training plus having your senior assembler programmers spend some time with these people and just go through some exercises and answer questions and work with them doing some coding and so forth. That's a really great way to learn.
Yeah, I've seen it work well with the digital badges to give people just a chance to kind of put a toe in the water and see if they like assembler, and then kind of pick who they want to work with from there and kind of build things up. So
yeah, I'm sorry that I'm geeky, but I do actually like programming in assembler. So I think there's a lot of us out there.
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
1 minute to go before the bottom of the hour, so I guess you did quite well, Darren. My compliments for your time management. I think we are done with the session. I hope you receive much positive feedback. I enjoyed very much. I would like to thank everybody for joining this session, and Darren, for you, I would like to especially thank you for getting us through your story.
Thank you very much. And if I might put one last minute plug in as well, IBM Z Explorer, if there's any people out there that are high school or university students, IBM Z Explorer is phenomenal training outside the realm of the talent pool conversation, but it's absolutely free and really great introduction into the mainframe. So go and have a look at IBM Z Explorer. IBM's got a new mainframe skills, IBM Z Mainframe Skills Depot as well, which has got a bunch of training, some of it free. So there's lots of stuff out there if you, as Herb said, just want to dip your toe in the water and get a look at the mainframe and learn more about it. To maybe
the Skills Depot link was shared during Meredith Stowell.
That's right. Yeah, Meredith is the genius that invented all that sort of stuff. Meredith and her team, and it's going to be really useful for the industry. But I got to say, and this has been around for years, but IBM Z Explorer is still my favorite introduction to the mainframe. It really is fantastic training.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And everybody, thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your time during the virtual GSE.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.